Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar series on UK reach and Brexit. Today, we want to take a look at Brexit from the EU perspective. It will be shorter than usual because EU reach has been here for quite some time. Let's take a look at some best practices, or what you can still do to stay compliant in the EU, or if you have customers in the UK. So just a second. Okay, there we are. My name is Tomáš Novotný. It is my great pleasure to be responsible for this exciting area of UK reach and Brexit. It is interesting for me because it to some extent reminds me of the days 12, 13 years back when EU reach was still young, and the UK reach now reintroduces or brings new challenges to new players while introducing already well-known challenges to existing players who were already well established on the EU market. Please feel free to ask, even though we only have half an hour today. I will try to leave at least 10 minutes for your questions. As usual, we will make sure to circulate the recording, all the presentations, and of course the popular Q&A sheet. And today I will focus on several key obligations. First and foremost, reach registration for those who want to stay on the EU market. CLP Annex 8, so poison centers notification, how does that come into play with Brexit? Waste Framework Directive, in particular the skip notifications of SVHCs in articles, and as I mentioned, Q&As, of course. So, as I really want to leave some time for the questions and answers, please, when you have any question, post it in the Q&As window, and I will try to get to that either live at the end of the webinar, or of course we will respond to all questions after the webinar as usual. So, not to lose time, let's take a look at some typical scenarios. What can happen if you are an EU-based company and you want to stay on the EU market, or if you want to export to the UK market? So if your suppliers are coming from the UK, here in this picture, I presented a UK-based manufacturer, but of course it applies basically to any part of your supply chain reaching out to the UK. So no matter if your UK-based supplier is a direct manufacturer or he is an importer, formulator, if your supply chain reaches out to the UK, you need to take care of your EU reach obligations when importing from the UK. So scenario number one, or option number one. As the EU-based importer, you have the obligation to register under EU reach, as most of you know. So that applies, of course, to supplies from the UK now. So first option is to file your own registration or rely on existing registration. So of course you can file a completely new registration. You can use your existing registration, or those of you who have already started a transfer of UK-based reach registration to the EU, they can rely on those as well. The condition was that the transfer from UK-based companies needed to be initiated by the end of 2020, and it needs to be finished before 31st March of 2021. So if you have already started transfer of your registrations from the UK to the EU, you will be perfectly covered. So that's option number one, having your own registration in the EU. Option number two, the UK-based company, your UK-based supplier, can appoint an EU-based only representative, and the EU-based only representative files a REACH registration, and then you are covered because you are no longer an importer, but you become a downstream user. This is a typical scenario for non-EU companies. This is exactly how it always worked with only representatives from non-EU countries. From manufacturers not from non-EU countries using only representatives for their REACH registrations. So this is quite simple, straightforward. This option has always been here, and now it applies to UK-based suppliers as well. So if you are a UK-based supplier, you can use an only representative, and then you have freedom to sell to anybody in the EU because the registration will be yours. Okay, question we are getting lately. Which options do I have if I didn't transfer my REACH registrations from the UK to the EU? Basically, the only option is to get an EU registration somewhere in the supply chain, or have an EU registration somewhere in the supply chain. So you can do that either yourselves or through an only representative if you are a non-EU company. You can import through an EU-based entity holding the registration. Then they would become distributors and you could be buying from them. Or the last option is persuade your EU-based customers to register. So that leaves us with basically all options I outlined here. So from REACH registrations, I will just briefly mention obligations related to CLP Annex 8, so-called poison centers notifications and UFI codes, and skip notifications. So two new highly discussed obligations which came into force since this year. So if you are an EU-based company importing chemicals to the EU, those are two obligations which directly apply to you. So even if you are buying from the UK, you need to submit the poison centers notification to ECHA. You need to comply with the rules for UFI codes. Or of course, you can rely on transitional measures concerning national poison centers notifications where applicable. And the same with SVHCs. You need to notify SVHCs articles to ECHA. So you are the ones responsible. There is nothing like mutual recognition of PCN notifications, skip notifications, which were submitted by UK companies before the end of the Brexit transition period. You are now the ones responsible. You have to do that if you are in the EU. Okay, so switching to the other side. Exporting from the EU to the UK. What options do we have? Since UK REACH is mirroring EU REACH to almost 99–100%, the options are in principle the same. So you can rely on a registration of a UK REACH importer. So if you are an EU-based company which wants to export to the UK, you need to persuade all your customers in the UK to file a REACH registration. That's option number one. And option number two, again, appointing an only representative. So you can appoint a Great Britain-based only representative to do the registration for you and to cover all your exports to the UK. This is a situation which will apply when all transitional provisions, all transitional measures that were introduced in UK REACH will cease to exist. So this is the final stage when all provisions of UK REACH are fully in place. So in this scenario, the UK reach importer becomes a downstream user. But as I indicated, there are also transitional provisions, thankfully, in the UK reach. And these are that existing previous registrations, which were held by Great Britain-based companies in the past 2.5 years, were automatically grandfathered until the 30th of April 2021. So if you are among those who was Great Britain-based and had an existing registration in this period of 2.5 years, you are automatically covered and you can keep importing to the UK. And you can also benefit from extended UK reach registration deadlines of 2023, 2025, and 2027 if you submit one of the two notifications, either grandfathering notification or downstream user import notification. The first one has a deadline of 30th April, the second one has a deadline of 27 October. If you would like any further details on these two processes, we covered these in our past webinars. You can take a look, and we will take a closer look in one of our future webinars as well. So I will not go into further detail on grandfathering or downstream user import notifications here. But one thing I wanted to mention as an opportunity for existing or new EU registrants, EU reach registrants who want to start or keep trading with the UK, selling to the UK. The downstream user import notification can be filed using an existing EU registration. So if you have an existing EU registration, you can notify it in the UK, and you can keep exporting without full registration until 2023, 2025, 2027. But you can do this also if you currently don't have any registration at all. You can still register your substance in the EU and then do the downstream user import notification on this new EU registration. So if you are able to register in the EU and then submit a downstream user notification in the UK before 27th of October, you can be on both markets in the EU and in the UK. In the EU until you cancel your registration, and in the UK until 2023, 2025, or 2027, depending on the tonnage band of your substance. So it is also an opportunity to get into the UK market even without an existing EU registration. Of course, you need to do that through a reach-only representative in the UK if you are sitting in the EU. When it comes to poison centers, UFI codes, and skip notifications, there is no such thing in the UK. Of course, there are still the national poison centers in the UK, and all the rules concerning the national poison centers in the UK remain applicable. So when you have mixtures, hazardous mixtures, you need to notify them to the national poison center. You need to have the valid contact information on your safety data sheets. But there is no mutual recognition between the EU and the UK when it comes to poison centers or skip notifications. So even if you did submit your poison centers notifications in the EU, you need to do it again in the UK to the national poison center. And also, if you the skip notification, there is no such thing under the UK reach, at least not now. So you don't have any obligation under UK reach to submit notification of SVHCs in articles to national authorities. But at the same time, there are again no mutual recognitions between the EU and the UK concerning skip notifications. I can see that we have 9 or 10 questions. So before we get to that, just let me invite you warmly to our next webinars. The first deadline under UK REACH is approaching on the 30th of April. So before that, we still want to go a little bit deeper on different processes under UK REACH, starting with the downstream user import notifications and grandfathering in 2 weeks. And after that, we will be taking a close look at data sharing concerning UK REACH, because we are getting a lot of questions. There's a lot of uncertainty. So we will be discussing questions like how much it will cost to register in the UK, how much will the data cost to purchase from the lead registrants and data holders, what are the typical data sharing arrangements, how to minimize the uncertainties in data sharing costs, and what to do basically. So you will get an invitation soon to register for any of these webinars if you are interested in these topics. And you can also take a look at our previous webinars where we covered some of the UK REACH processes in more detail, or simply contact us. Our Don't Panic button is still available and fully functional. So thank you very much for attending this webinar, and I will jump right to the questions. So let me take a look what we have here. In the meantime, we will also ask what is your current situation, if you already started your notifications under UK REACH, or if you are planning to do so. And in the meantime, I will switch to my Q&A sheet and also take a look at the Q&A's panel. Okay. So first question I prepared here was coming from Michal. You can see it on the screen, but it's in Czech language, so I'll translate it. It reads, what if I didn't pre-register in the UK or notify in the UK, and I changed my mind and I want to start exporting to the UK? How long will it take, and when can I expect to be able to start exporting to the UK again? So as I mentioned, there are 2 deadlines, 30th of April, and for EU suppliers with existing EU registrations, it's 27th of October. So until then, you can do the downstream user import notifications. It's not a lengthy process. You need analytical data, especially for that. So that might take you some time to generate those if you don't have them. But otherwise, it's a matter of days, at the latest, at the longest, matter of weeks. And if you submit the notifications until 27th of October, then you can freely export your chemicals until 2023, 2025, 2027, depending on the tonnage band. If you miss this deadline, then you need to go through the full registration process before you can start exporting again. So similar to EU REACH, the full registration process can take anything between 2, 3, 4 weeks up to half a year, 1 year, depending on the complexity and depending of whether it's a joint submission or a lead registrant submission. Okay, let me take a look at questions in the Q&A's panel. If a UK company has a subsidiary company within the EU, do their REACH registrations change or remain the same? That's exactly what I tried to show at the slide concerning the export from the UK to the EU. So if you started the transfer of your existing registrations to the EU before the end of year 2020, then you were able to transfer your registration free of charge. If you didn't do that, what you need to do now is to appoint an only representative in the EU and file a new registration. Or, of course, you can arrange with one of your customers or one of your partners that you will be exporting exclusively through his branch, through his company, on his existing EU Reach registration. Question from Suresh: is it one registration for UK and for EU? Simple question, simple answer: no. If you want to be trading on both markets, you need two registrations. You have duplicate obligations. Even though the obligations are pretty much the same, you need to file both registrations. Could you please clarify how requirements differ for PCN for Great Britain and Northern Ireland? Great question, and to be perfectly honest, I will need to take a close look at that. I don't dare to answer this question out of the top of my head, so I will respond after the webinar. Question from Christina: Northern Ireland still applies EU Reach? Yes, that's perfectly correct. Another question concerning poison centers notifications. So I guess we will need to throw a separate webinar on that, probably. Question from Luis: what about poison centers notification for Northern Ireland? Should we submit to ECHA or to the National Poison Center in Northern Ireland? Again, I need to check that. Question from Maria: is it correct that only representative in the UK can only be appointed by an EU manufacturer? In other words, a trader company who purchases from a manufacturer and wishes to sell to UK cannot appoint an only representative. This is a question which we are getting a lot lately. And simple answer is yes, it is perfectly correct what Maria is describing here. Only a non-UK manufacturer can appoint an only representative by definition. In practice, it is, or we saw cases where also distributors or traders appointed only representatives, and they did so in those cases where they were able to provide complete data about the chemicals, complete data about the substances, which is of course hard to get from the suppliers. Usually it's easier to persuade the suppliers to do their own registrations than to get hands at full package of data which is needed for Reach registration, whether it's UK Reach or EU Reach, doesn't really matter. But as long as the traders and distributors are able to collect all the data concerning physical chemical properties, especially analytical data, and of course tox, ecotox, to be able to compile a full registration dossier, they can appoint an only representative, because by doing so they can claim they are in the position of a manufacturer, basically, because they have full control over the composition and full control over the properties of the substance. But again, as I said, it's quite hard, and typically, as you know, a lot of these chemicals are coming in mixtures, and then it's even more difficult to get information about individual components of these mixtures. Let me check the clock. We have 5 minutes, so maybe 3-4 more questions. Question from Alessio: we can submit a downstream user import notification for any substances which meet the following criteria. Criterion 1: we currently hold an EU Reach registration. criterion 2. We currently export to the UK. Can we submit downstream user notifications using REACH registrations held by other companies in the supply chain? Yes, you can do that. And you don't even need to be currently exporting or importing to the UK. You can even file a dormant notification. So you can notify the substances based on existing EU REACH registrations upstream, up in your supply chain. And no matter if you will be using those registrations, if you will be actively exporting or importing based on those notifications, you can still submit the notification freely. Okay. Let me check what else we have here. I'll try to select something short and which can be still answered. A European distributor can do the downstream user notification. I basically covered that already. Last question I will try to answer. Question from Dorota. Could you show option 1 of Brexit through the eyes of an EU-based company again? Of course I can. Option 1 of Brexit through the eyes of an EU-based company. Yeah, that would be here. Okay, so this is the most simple, but not always the most cost-efficient way to stay on the EU market. Thank you once again for attending. Thank you greatly for your questions. As usual, we will try to answer them as soon as possible, at the latest until the end of the week. And we'll stay in touch, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again at one of our next sessions in this UK REACH and Brexit webinar series. Thank you. Have a great day.